we're going to do a short video on how to create a clipping mask. So in this case, let's make this a little bit bigger. You can see that there's a little bit of color back here. We've gone in and we used a Camera Raw filter to adjust the white balance, but still it's a little bit off. So I'm just going to convert the background to black and white because there's no real information there that I need to keep. So in doing so, I'm going to select this guy right here, the Object Selection tool from the toolbar. And I'm going to click, make sure I have Project 1 layer selected, and I could click and drag to make a selection. And then what it does, because it's the Object Selection tool, is you're establishing a marquee, and then within that marquee, it's saying, okay, I will select the subject. This is kind of a cool tool. Or you can hit Command D to deselect. With this tool selected, you can go up to the top option bar and hit Select Subject. Select Subject does a pretty good job. Now let's zoom in and see our selection. Not bad. A little bit here we need to fix, and a little bit here. So when you need to add and subtract to a selection, you can hold on the Shift to add and the Option to subtract, but I'm going to show you something a little easier and a little more fun, called the Quick Mask. So hit Q to go in, and then in a Quick Mask, hit B to use the brush, and make sure that your foreground and background are black and white. And if they're not, hit D, and that will set the default black and white. So you use the brush. You can make the brush larger or smaller using the brackets. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, with black in the front, I am going to quote unquote paint in the mask. So now this part that I just painted in will be part of the selection. And I'm going to hit X as an X-Men to put white in the front and then subtract this from the selection because I want these little teeth that are a part of the tape dispenser. Okay? Q in and Q out. Missed a little bit here, hit Q, and then we can take the brush. Now if you go too far and you're like, whoo, don't worry about it. Hit X as an X-Men to put black in the foreground, and then you can just mask out whatever you need to. Okay? So then I'm going to hit Q again. And I have a pretty good selection. So now I'm going to go to the adjustments and I'm going to make a new adjustment layer. And when you have a selection and they make an adjustment layer, it makes it with that selection. What do I mean by that? I'm going to click on black and white, and you'll see that in the layer mask thumbnail, everything is black and there's a little white shape that is the dog. So in this case, it made the dog black and white and not the background. So with this layer mask selected, you can go to the Properties panel and hit Invert, or you can hit Command I, and it will toggle it back and forth. Now, that's looking pretty good, but everything else is black and white. So we need to fix that, and we can very simply. So right now, this is affecting everything below it. But if we only wanted to affect the one layer below it, we can clip it in to the layer beneath. This will be called the base layer. Very simply, hold down the Option key and hover between the adjustment layer that you want to clip in and the layer that will be clipped into. And click. And now everything else is color again. You can see the tape dispenser, and the back is black and white. Sometimes it's a little bit of an aggressive change from the color to black and white, so you may want to take the opacity down just a little bit. So to review, you have all sorts of selection tools. The marquee, the lasso, if you have a Wacom, probably easy to draw. And then you have the quick select and the magic wand. And this new guy, object selection tool. And that's what I selected. If I went down to the next layer, with that layer selected, I can go to select subject, and it does a pretty good job. And if you need to amend that, add or subtract, hit Q, and you can use the brush to add and subtract to the mask. Sound good?